Good evening from the capital city of Kenya, Nairobi, the 15th day of the month of September, the year 2020. And looking at the happenings within this country, we are seeing light at the so-called the end of the tunnel. And tonight on Crime Must Fall Show, we look at corporate security. Our panelists, Mr. Bernardo Tieno and Mr. Chopin Ndeda, who are men who are well versed on matters security with more than 10 years experience, will take us through this topic to look into the matter of security, the three branches of security, and what it really means to your well-being and also the progress of the society. My name is Cornelius Omuse, and I welcome you to join us in this conversation that is also live on our Facebook page, CAC TV Kenya, and our YouTube channel, CAC TV Kenya. Remember, this is a production of Professional Criminologists Association of Kenya and CAC TV. Keep it for the next 1 hour as we bring to you and also your feedback as it comes. Our panelists and myself will be able to attend to. Gentlemen, welcome to Crime Must Fall Show tonight. I believe this is your first time to be here. Feel free as we're going to have an engagement session with our viewers. And just briefly, as I've done an introduction, but it's also good sometimes maybe to be in concurrence with me, or maybe also to go against, if indeed you're Mr. Bernard and you're also Mr. Ndeda. Briefly, something about you and then something about you to set the momentum for the show tonight.
Thank you very much, our host, Mr. Omuse. Thank you for CAC TV for giving us the opportunity to come here and have a discussion on matters corporate security. And finally, thank you our viewers for accompanying us in this show. We are promising you that we will deal with this topic as much as we can, and we are also welcoming questions and comments. So feel free to talk with us, engage us, so that we have interactive show. Thank you.
Many thanks, Mr. Bernard. Let's also hear from Mr. Ndeda.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Muse. I'm Chopi. I'm currently Director Recruitment and Certification, PSAC. And I feel privileged to be here today to discuss this issue of corporate security.
Thanks, gentlemen. And maybe one more time to our viewers. Sometimes it becomes difficult when you look at us, seeing us with masks, but it is self-explanatory that as we are flattening the curve, at the same time we continue adhering to the regulations and the guidelines of the Ministry of Health. Not necessarily that we are adhering to please them, but also to ensure that we are safe, both us and yourself. Gentlemen, let's look into this matter of security. Tonight we are focusing on corporate, but our viewers are asking themselves wherever they are, if there is corporate, then what are these other branches or types of security? And I believe you as men who are well versed, you have a deeper knowledge and understanding of this as we lay the ground for tonight's discussion. We begin by Mr. Otieno.
Once again, thank you. Very critical and very important. In fact, I think it is the right place to start. Security is a vast term and has very many meanings to very many people. And so it would be important for us to chunk it into various pillars so that we get our discussion streamlined. There are three core or main branches of security. Probably I would want to speak more on private. We have government security, which is national or public. Any of those three terms can well fit to define the first level of security. Mm-hmm. Then we have private security. And third, we have now corporate security. So maybe my fellow panelists can tell us more about government, then I can tackle the last two.
Many thanks. Let's invite Mr. Chopi.
Yeah.
Way back in high school, ilikuwa nasema huyo jamani Chopi. Yani Chopi ni ule msee alikuwa akikalia book.
Yes.
Ana deliver results. That's why tunaanza na wewe tuambie maneno.
Thank you. Basically, national security are the various security agencies that operate in government. We talk about the military, the police, the intelligence services. All these fall under the national security cadre. So that's basically what national security is. Yeah, and their role is simply to provide a safe environment for the citizens. And for the military, they give us protection from external aggression. Basically, that is in a nutshell, that's national security.
Another interest here to our viewers and all of us is that this national security, whose responsibility is it major? Is it compulsory that everyone has to receive this security, or it has some terms and conditions to be met before someone maybe gets them?
If you look at the issue to do with the rights of people, security is everyone's right. Yeah, whether you are an offender in prison, whether you are a free working citizen, it's the role of the government to ensure that they provide security and to ensure that our societies are safe. So everyone is entitled to security regardless of our various backgrounds that we have. But at the end of the day, it's the responsibility of the government to ensure that all citizens have security. It's your constitutional right.
Actually, we've been touching that, though partially, but at a future date, I believe you as a person in the government system will find time to look into that. That is not really our concern tonight, as Ms. Otieno comes with the two remaining, and in the two remaining, we have one, which we are going to measure on tonight.
So, my fellow panelist has really explained to us what national security is all about. Now, I'll talk about private. Now, private security simply is the responsibility of companies. There are companies that are established security, we call them security companies, and they offer services which people contract. Services like guarding, services like alarms, response, services like CPP, close personal protection, and so they're in the market, and everybody can approach them, and they agree on terms, and then they offer whatever type of security you want, private investigation included.
Ms. Otieno, before I lost you, there's a critical thing here, because this has ignited some interest from our viewers, that we have private security entities. You understand what it means by security, like close personal protection, the VIP protection, and all that is associated with that. Now, before you proceed giving further details, there is maybe something someone wants to know. The agency, the government agency or the department that fully concerns itself in ensuring that these private security providers are up to date and that they meet the required minimum standards.
Yes, we have a private security bill which was enacted and currently being implemented, and there is a body and a forum that addresses private security concerns, and they are all required to comply, because for a long time security companies in this country have operated at free will. They did not have a regulation to streamline how they're offering security to who, and again the bill is also concerned with how do we have the relationship between the government and the private security, because we have, for example, we have over 500 security guards in this country, Mr. Omuse. And so these are in themselves security providers. And we have the government, national security, as Mr. Ndeda mentioned. These two community of security providers are all working towards one goal. Yes, we have issues that are currently being debated about, do we need to arm private security, and that is also being dealt with.
Mr. Otieno, before we go into the matter of the debates
Yes.
of arming the private security entities or
Yes.
the personnel who works there, another question arises in someone's mind, not really Choppy, because Choppy knows why,
Yes.
but it's you now to help our viewers still to understand. As Mr. Choppy talked of, we have a national security, which
Yes.
is mandatory, provided in the constitution as a sole responsibility of any government in the world. But mtu anakaa chini anajiuliza kwa nini tena tunaanza kukuwa na private ones?
Yes.
Mbona tusikuwe tuna hii national?
Yes,
na
that
mambo ya
will
kuisha
fit
na
everyone.
mwenyewe,
Yes.
and to fit everyone.
Yeah, because we all know that the government has the responsibility to provide security to everyone. But there is the constraint. The government cannot be everywhere. There are certain people whose requirements for security may be different from what the government is offering, because the government will be to maintain order, arrest, investigate, prosecute, and sentence. That is the prisons for rehabilitation. But then there is this person or this particular organization that wants somebody to sit at the gate to enter records, capture records of people, guests, and to open the gate when the gate needs to be open, and to close it when it needs to be closed. Malls have people that needs to be, we ensure they are in queue and they are keeping order. The government may not get down to that level. So private security comes to bridge that gap that we have, whereby the government is not able to offer security to the little detail as per different people's requirements. So private security comes in handy to bridge that gap.
Many thanks. Now we move to the next level.
Corporate,
We'll
yes.
come there because we don't want really to put our brother, the Choppy man, kwa
Indeed.
baridi. The last one now, the
Yes.
corporate.
Corporate,
as
yes.
we lay the foundation before we jump into something,
Yes.
as we now get the basis of tonight's discussion.
Yes. Now, corporate is the third branch of security, and it is one of the critical departments.
That's where we are now.
Yes, in any organization. Any meaningful organization needs to have a security department that is well established, and the role of security in organizations is to identify, assess, and come up with appropriate mitigation measures that are able to address threats and risks that are targeted towards the company, staff or employees, company assets, and company processes. So security will, in every organization, will be like an enabler and a very critical support function that will have to ensure that people are doing the right thing, asset is protected, and the company processes are all safe from the insider and from the outsider threat.
Many thanks. Now, we move into something here. Nothing just exists in the air. Maybe the air itself.
Yes.
Usually there are foundations and protocols before anything is undertaken, before any duty. We look back and see what happens in the society in different places, and some time back we had a case of a very senior civil servant in the Republic of Kenya who was entering a particular location, and then at the gate some altercations arose between the government employee, who was very senior by then, and the guard. And we don't want really to go deep into what happened because it was in the public domain and it caused a lot of issues until now with an impact. There is this part of protocols, and we really want to get from you, the experts. How do you categorize, or how do you do this approach where maybe an MD is entering an organization that they work, and then maybe anataka kuangaliwa ameona amebeba nini? So we want really to know in this matter, how have you put that issue? There are those humble people, atashuka chini ataangaliwe apite. We've been even seeing some governors, some senior people, but kuna mwingine kabla hujamfikia it might give birth to another thing. And I invite Mr. Chopi to lay a foundation on the protocols in security of the corporates.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I thank Mr. Otieno for giving a good layout. Then, quickly, the role of corporate security is protection of both tangible and intangible assets. Assets can be people, assets can be processes, assets can be information. And coming to your question, the issue of protocols. Corporate security is largely guided by the issue of risk assessment, right? Decisions that are made to a certain threat, so that to determine the level of protection or to be given will always be guided by risk assessment. This is a methodological way of trying to quantify risk. Risk is not necessarily a bad thing, but a potential that maybe a bad thing can occur. So risk assessment is the tool. And in today's corporate world, we have something called enterprise risk management, that every process that is undertaken has to go through the enterprise risk management. If it's people, if it's the processes, everything, enterprise risk management, so that we can truly know where our organization is. Thank you.
Mr. Otieno, also on that, because we laid down such a case where a prominent person was going to a place, you know very well, I'm a guard, maybe as a person. I'm a guard. I know Mr. Otieno is the Chief Justice or the Speaker of the National Assembly. Then as you're entering a mall that I'm a guard, then I tell you, hey, Mheshimiwa, simama kidogo nataka nikuangalie. Then in the process you're wondering, doesn't this person know me? And then in the same process, you have your guards and all other protocols that have been adhered to. How do your profession handle such a protocols as far as security of corporates are concerned? Do you have a special consideration over it, or you just treat everyone equal?
First and foremost, I would want to mention or introduce the aspect of security policy and its place in managing risks, as Mr. Ndeda has said. Every organization or every serious security department must have a policy. The policy must align itself with the strategic policy of the company or of the organization, because you're not running a parallel business within a business. You are there to enable the goal of the organization to be met. And so every guard or everybody who is offering security in a particular place must understand the policy. And after the policy, we have SOPs, standard operating procedures, which must be very clear that when I am deployed in this place, what is my key role? And so, again, other than the policy, the SOPs, and the assignment instructions that the security personnel are supposed to align to, we also have the customer care and PR, you know. Yes, you know this is the MD, and everybody must be searched. The approach you will give the MD will determine whether he will adhere to the search you want to conduct. You know, you will not come to me as the MD of a company and tell me, can you come out of your vehicle and, you know, line up here, I want to search you. The response you will get, and going to the case you're mentioning, I think the problem was not that the government official did not want to go through the search. Of course, that's a place she had gone for a number of times, and more senior people have been there. So I think individual responsibility behoves you or me to know how to handle everyone with respect, dignity, and humility, in as much as you remain firm. Then it will solicit a response that will be appropriate to the kind of work you are doing. And so that is it's about training. How are we training the guards? And that's why now with the private security bill, there are modules and the requirements for guards to be trained in a particular way. I think and I believe it's addressing those issues of customer care, PR and all those things. And if we have those issues addressed, we will have less and less of push and pull between people offering security and the people that are being secured.
Let's look into something here, Mr. Chopi, about staff security and safety. We've had cases. I think 2 weeks ago we saw some story in some news in the media where a particular person was working for a certain hotel within the city. This person was injured during the process. They went to the lawyer and things have never been okay. The man is paralyzed and the case is just in a sorry state. Now, when we come to staff security and safety, people are employed on a daily basis. And myself here, I'm an employee, and I guess all of you even are employees of a particular place. And then you're told it is upon your employer to ensure your safety. So someone wonders, how about my safety? Which safety? Against what? So let's look into safety, security, staff security and safety, what it means, what it entails, and the approach towards this matter before we go into the second part of our discussion.
Okay, thank you. I will want to put that under workplace violence. It has been a common occurrence that in Kenya and internationally we've had cases where cases of violence in workplace. And as you know, it's the responsibility of the employer to take care of the internal staff and the external staff. Yeah. So, first of all, the employer must ensure that there is a policy framework. Yeah. A policy framework in regard to addressing the issues of workplace violence. And once a policy is done, for example, if you come in as an employee, you are given a policy to go through, various policies, a security policy, a computer security policy. So the policy tells you what you are required to do as a staff. And even a policy will even create avenues where staff can be able to report cases. If they suspect, if there is a red flags in regard to violence. If red flags are seen, then you should be able to have a mechanism where a staff can be able to report the matter before the situation gets out of hand, because violence does not just occur. This is something that has been premeditated. Probably the employee is having difficulties, financial difficulties, domestic difficulties, has mental problems. So these are things fellow employees who are working together should be able to see that something wrong is with this employee, and please let's take note before the situation gets out of hand.
Many thanks. You've actually, he's focused a lot onto the employee part. And we go back, because history guides us, before we go for a quick commercial break, where a certain employee at the coast of Kenya, that is in Mombasa, went with a machete to see the employer. Akitaka ampatia. I don't know what they were. The
controversy was,
Then when he missed the employer, jamaa akajirusha kwa ocean.
The ocean, yes.
So as we look into the employee part in the corporate security, how about the employer also?
Yes, I would want to address that bit of the employer. You see, the employer has a huge responsibility, significant part of the responsibility to ensure that the workplace is conducive for everyone. And this cuts across many spectrums that are work-related. How are you paying your employees? When are you paying your employees? How are you treating your employees? What are the motivations that are in place? Are they feeling part of being part of the company, you know. And so if those are not addressed, they become risks. It becomes a risk that is festering slowly by slowly. And you will find people protesting. There's a protest in a company. There is a downtown of tools. People are not willing to work. There's go slow. And all these are security risks. So a security department that is functional in corporate will be able to give advice to the employer on how to handle these issues. Before even this person comes with machete to want to attack the MD, where is security? So I would want to understand the security structure of that employer. Maybe
we are coming
he did
there,
not
Mr. Otieno,
exactly.
just after a quick commercial break. We will come back looking into your feedback, your questions, your concerns, and also your responses that are actually coming in our SMS number, in our WhatsApp number, and also in our social media platforms. Tonight, we are discussing the corporate security. And as our panelists, Mr. Ndeda and Mr. Otieno have put it, there are 3 branches, and all these have huge and immense effects to your security and also your well-being as far as the productiveness of different corporates are concerned. Keep it on CAC TV.
Here comes the week that has taken 100 years to be, the week that marks 100 years since the ordination of the first African PCA elders. From the initial 28 elders ordained on 16th September 1920, now PCA has over 20,000 elders. Praise be to God. On Monday 8 p.m., CAC TV will feature an overview of the office of an elder, including a day in the life of an elder and the opinion of the youth on elders. On Tuesday, the children and the grandchildren of the initial elders will have an opportunity to reflect on the impact of their parents and grandparents and how their faith has impacted them. On Wednesday at 9 p.m., you will be inspired by the narration from various elders on what their offices entails, and as well as comparison between the elders then and the elders now. On Thursday, 7:30 p.m., CAC TV will feature an amazing session. PCA elders who are in politics have a message. What could this be? On Friday, the question of youth in eldership will be the discussion on your screen. Are youth allowed to be elders? Find out on CAC TV. On Saturday at 9 p.m., we will all sit to learn about eldership from inception to its dynamics, and the teacher will not disappoint. On Sunday the 20th from 9 a.m., the torch from the Church of the Torch that has spread beyond East Africa will be shining the more as a mark of the centennial celebrations of the ordination of first African elders. Thereafter, our evening will be special. PCA elders serving as CEOs in various organizations will be addressing the issue of balancing public service and ministry responsibilities. All these activities are revolving around the theme bearing lasting fruits from John chapter 15 verse 16. Wherever you are, just believe. They did, so we too can.
Welcome back and many thanks for tuning in to Crime Must Fall Short this 15th day of the month of September. And tonight, 2 great gentlemen are on the panel, Mr. Choppy Ndeda and Mr. Bernard Otieno, who are well versed with matters security, having worked at the public service, also in the private sector. And they're helping us to understand what is it all about corporate security and how much does it concern you as a citizen of Kenya and and beyond. And just to read some of your comments here, because we said we rely so much on your feedback because it gives us now a pointer and a direction as we do our things here on Crime Must Fall Show. We have Kennedy Tendet Masai. He says he's a head of security with some organization. Thank you, CAC TV, for organizing this show. Looking forward to hear from the panelists. He says, I say hi to Mr. Bernard Otieno, who is his mentor, and also the other panelists, Mr. Chopi. Kamau Esther, thank you guys for the show. Thank you too. Kamau Esther, Roger Mosebo, following and always learning from the experts. Crime must fall. Indeed, it must. And in capital letters and in bold, it must fall. Rimi Ike, Dr. Kirimi, the good doctor, says he's following keenly. He is saying, bravo, team. We also say thank you. Awar Ingweres says, bravo panelists. We also say thank you. Eric Rono, following keenly from Eldoret. Crime must fall. Indeed, it must. Gatamo and read to elaborate how a security manager can get the balance between public facilitation and security measures. Take care of supermarkets, banking halls, etc. Katama and Ritu, we are coming. Gatama, we are coming to you in a short while. I've just said Katama because I have a neighbor called Katama from where I come from. Christine Bukuli, policies, procedures, standard and guideline count most in corporate security. Thank you, Christine. Baba Faulu, great discussions. Let's always keep on enhancing our abilities to prevent and protect. Crime must fall. Collins and Kinyua, a good show, learning a lot from corporate security perspective. Quite comprehensive and well explained on handling clients with dignity while remaining firm. My question is, what is the place of technology in the field of security apart from CCTVs? We've noted it. Collins. Eustace Munene, how do we position a corporate security department to achieve the mission and vision of the organization? Many thanks, Eustace Munene. Greetings to all the panelists. It feels so nice to see you, Bernard, my mentor and source of motivation professionally. I'm here listening and following corporate security. Good brains, security take it to the next level. And then Leonard Kinyo Ankanda says it is so educative. Now, let's begin with some of these feedback because we made a promise. A promise is a debt that yes, we will be able to answer some of their questions. There is this one from Eustace Munene. Let's begin here. He says, how do we position corporate security department to achieve the mission and vision of the organization? We begin from Mr. Chopindeda.
First of all, as Otieno tackled earlier, for you to be a corporate security professional, there are some things that you must have. First of all, you must understand the business. You must have that business acumen. Yeah, because you will be a security corporate security manager for various companies who do different types of business. So you must be able to understand the business. Yeah. Once you understand the business, that will help you to understand the vision and mission of the organization.
Yes.
The vision and mission of organization is what will guide now your security docket. Yeah.
Yes.
Your vision as the vision of your security department should be aligned to that of the organization, which has been derived by the board of directors. Yeah. And you see, the board of directors are the ones who give the strategic direction of an organization. So that is where, as corporate security manager, we should always be guided by the strategic direction being given by the board of directors, and you can only be able to do that if you understand the business and develop that corporate culture. Thank you.
And also to add,
yes,
sorry, my colleague and fellow panelist has really brought an important point, that as a security manager, are you just an employee adding to the number, or are you bringing the difference? It's very important because you'll find marketing department, sales department, quality department, all the departments, logistics will come to the table during business reviews and bring the difference, how they are contributing to the bigger goal of the organization. So as security, your objectives must be to ensure that you quantify risks and losses and present it in a manner that you will get a buy-in in meetings and they will understand that you know what you're talking about. We are not generating profit. In security, there's no profit generation. But we can support if the goal of the organization is to get certain numbers or to achieve certain sales. If the product is stolen, there's nothing to sell. If there is a product compromise and counterfeit is in the market and you cannot manage counterfeit, your salespeople cannot sell. And so you're not helping the organization to achieve its numbers. So you must demonstrate that there is this problem and there's this risk, there's this threat, and if we manage this threat, the company will have a conducive environment to deliver its goals.
Many thanks, Mr. Bernard, and let's not forget our brother here, Gatama Wandiritu. Gatama Wandiritu talked of elaborate how a security manager can get the balance between public facilitation and security measures. Public facilitation and security measures in take case of supermarkets and banking halls. Gatama wants to look into this, getting the balance between the two. Banking halls, supermarkets, you see those checks that are usually done, and how the place is. I think that is what viewer
I think
is
he's looking at the symbiotic relationship between public service security and private service security in dealing with the key areas of interest like malls, public places where people go to visit eateries and all that, because of maybe threat of terrorism or threat of to people's lives and assets. Maybe if my fellow panelists want to contribute.
Let's also get to...
No, what is key is, what is important is we should have that partnership between the public security and the private security and the corporate security. Because at the end of the day, our role is to ensure that we have a safe society. Let's
look at Collins Kinywa before we go to something critical on the second part. Collins Kinywa is asking, his question is the place of technology in the place of security, apart from CCTVs. You see, when you talk of when you talk of technology in security, akili watu wanakimbia
to CCTV. Yes.
Kuna camera hapo. Even in studio, ndio ile moja, ndio ile hapo. There's another one there. But good. Now they want to know these are the parts. What is this position of technology? Because actually, we are in the technological era.
World. Yes. Security technology and systems is vast, very vast. And in the globalized security or globalized world, we are seeing people leaning towards security technologies and systems. And so, other than just CCTV, we have various components of security systems, like biometric in access control. Instead of putting a guard to open a door because you want only specific people restricted access, you put a biometric system. In your door there is, yes, that is now not CCTV. It is an access control. So you're leveraging on access control where somebody can come. There are many ways to do it.
So the entry is only restricted to
people
authorized.
who have been predetermined or authorized to get into that place. So you either use your fingerprint. There are those that use opticals. There are those that use very many features of the body. Then there is IDS, intruder detection systems, whereby instead of also putting somebody there, there is alarm system covering the whole of an area. So if there is an intrusion, unauthorized access or attempt, the alarm goes off and sends a signal to a response team, and banks have that, and then many sensitive areas that would come and be able to respond to the threat. There are fence technologies, and there are so many technologies that are being used currently to help us in managing security where human maybe has failed or interface the human contribution. Yes.
Let's get into something here about...
No, maybe I just want to add something to what Mr. Otieno is saying. And currently, the world is moving towards something called integrated security systems. Yeah. So that we have a system where all the things that he's mentioned, whether it's biometrics, the intrusion detection system, the CCTV, yeah, are in one. They speak to each other.
Yes.
Yeah. So detecting any types, any anomaly can be easy. Yeah. Once we have let's say we have cameras which have motion detectors, they can be able to detect you.
Yes.
Yeah, and send that information to the alarm. Yeah, and people can be aware of what's happening.
Something is about to happen.
Yeah.
Actually, Mr. Collins Kinyo, I think the experts have been able to answer your concern in a very elaborative manner.
Yeah.
Now, there is this part here of the key functions of corporate security, key functions of corporate security in any of those corporates.
Yes.
Because we have to really look into the functions before we get the relevance. And as we go to the functions here, something like information protection comes up, security risk assessment, business continuity and crisis management, also the corporate business investigations. Let's look procedurally and in a good order about these key functions. We begin from Mr. Choppy, as we get to break them down.
People call it function or elements. First of all, we have the issue of reputation. Yeah, reputation is such a key function. Reputation protection is such a key function. The corporate security docket, because reputation is everything.
Image.
Yeah, image. Yeah, companies spend so much money in advertising, and so that they can enhance their image. So it's the role of the corporate security docket to ensure that the reputation and image of the organization is protected. Then we have issues like non-financial risk management is also there, yeah, such that all the processes and the activities of organization, the security docket should be able to do a risk assessment and to ensure that either we minimize, eliminate, transfer the risk. Yeah. So all those things. We have others. Even physical security is part of, and what he's just mentioned. Yeah. The various elements of physical security, CCTV, guarding, intrusion detection systems, all those things. Maybe you can proceed with the business.
Yeah, just to add to what Mr. Ndeda has said, yes, in the contemporary world, most organizations are laying a lot of emphasis on employee first. We are coming from the phase where most organizations or businesses were more customer-oriented or product-oriented. These things go through phases. So today we are in a phase where most organizations have realized the people are more important, and so we must protect the people. We must get them to feel valued. And so security also, and we talked about placing security focus aligned to the company strategic objectives. And people comes first nowadays. So you will find, as a security person, one of your key functions is to protect people. You have to ensure that the duty of care, as envisioned in the company policy, is practically being done. You must induct people when they come into the organization. They must know the do's and the don'ts, the security risks to look at, because maybe it's a company dealing with very high risk product. You go into a place and you get burnt or you get radioactive reactions. It means, as a person who is an employee, who is a visitor, who is a contractor, the security of those people belongs to security department.
Many thanks, Mr. Bernard. The show seems to be attracting a lot of concern and feedback from our viewers. We are here because of them.
Yes.
We are here because of you, and we will not leave anything behind, even though time is catching up with us.
Yeah.
But we shall just be passing through them very fast, because they'll sleep well
Yes.
when they know that their concern has been attended to. Zile ambazo tutaweza, will find a way of reaching you. We have a friend here talking of embracing new technology is the best way to curb crime in the current society.
Yeah.
And then the person goes further by saying, is there any special high-tech unit for such? A special, maybe this person wants to know, is there that special high-tech unit, maybe the government or in the non-governmental organization?
I think in Kenya, security technology has been there, but we are not very fast at adopting the latest technologies. Maybe because of cost issues, and maybe because we may also lack the input to be able to work behind, because you see, technology without the human interface is nothing. So we may be having a gap in, do we have specialized people dealing with, you see, like a country like Israel has really leveraged on security. They can do a lot with technology, which I think we are getting there as a country. And by and by, I'm seeing a lot of new technologies, as you said, interface of security intelligence systems coming into the market. And with the time, I think we'll get there. But at the moment, we are still very basic in terms of how we use technology to leverage on security.
Actually, that came from Leonard Kinyuan Kanda.
Yes.
I think your concern has been addressed. And then another one comes here, and Mr. Chopi had actually introduced us there about workplace violence. Someone's talking of how do you handle a situation where your boss is assaulting a staff in present? And just maybe let's also relate to the history. We've been seeing some very funny videos where people are at a construction site, or they're working somewhere, anawekwa chini, anawekwa coffee, mwingine analimwa viboko. And because someone feels, hapa ndio natoa unga yangu, then you're just beaten like that.
And they are.
Hata maybe unaomba tena msamaha, and then you go home. Yes, you might be on the wrong, but at the end of the day, maybe hiyo kupigwa ikulete injury. What is the protocols or the measures that you have to handle such a cases that arises in corporates where bosses go as far as assaulting,
violating
the
rights,
law? And
first of all, if you see, I want to speak from a perspective where an employee is a witness. Do the right thing. If somebody is being assaulted, then you have to intervene. Yeah, you know, there are matters, even as corporate managers, we cannot be able to handle them internally. Yeah, and these matters have to be escalated, yeah, to public service like police.
Yes,
because now they are turning out to be criminal in nature.
Let's come to reality, Mr. Chopi.
Yes.
It's good to live in reality.
Yes.
We understand the society that we are in, but we also appreciate the efforts that are being put by organizations like Professional Criminologists Association of Kenya, the Kenya Police Service, the reforms that are being put, what CAC TV is also doing to ensure that people get to know their rights.
Yes.
But you see, I know you're not a bad person when you boss Mali. I'm an employee, Chopi is an employee, naona unalima Chopi coffee, pap! Then, maybe kuja intervene. In fact, I may have to think thrice or even 4 times before I come to intervene when the boss is working on someone. Why? I'll fall into maybe your trap, pia naweza pigwa your coffee, all of us can be dismissed. There's those things which are there. So we want to get the position of these bodies that are concerned with matter security and also the welfare of the workers, and what interventions are being put in place to ensure that hizo makofi and all those mistreatments are things of the past, because it's crucial. And we might have to find a day for a topic of such a things, mistreatments at workplaces, and what criminology talks about it and the law.
In fact, if you look at the labor laws in Kenya, labor laws in Kenya are very clear on mistreatment of employees. And I want to assure you, as weak as an employee might be, when such a matter is presented to a labor court over mistreatment of an employee
Yeah. And rights violations.
and rights violations, and it's on record,
Yeah.
you hardly win a case against an employee,
Yeah.
especially if it's in violation of their rights. So you'll face criminal charges at the labor courts. So I insist, yeah, do the right thing, because if you keep quiet, then
It's a culture.
Yeah,
It will be
it's a culture.
that will be propagated.
Next, it will happen
Next
to another person, to another
tomorrow
person.
maybe you.
Yes, or
Because
it
they
may
say,
be you.
yeah.
It may be your wife.
Yeah.
So let us stick to doing the right thing,
Yeah.
and follow the law. Somebody somewhere will always listen. We have seen even kings fall who thought that
They were untouchable.
Yeah, they're untouchable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So as far as laws of the, and
So-
that's why I say there's a symbiotic relationship between these three arms of security. There is national, private, and corporate. National security is boundless. They will even come to interrogate and find out what's going on. You as an employee have a right to go report to the police that my boss assaulted me, and that will be investigated, you know, and it will be addressed. There are mechanisms within the law of this country that are talking into how such cases should be handled. So no bad culture, most of that violates people's rights, should be encouraged. It doesn't matter whether that is where you get your daily bread, because tomorrow it may be death.
As that comes, gentlemen, there is something here that we have to be very particular about it. And as I said earlier, Crime Must Fall Show is a reality show
Yeah.
of what happens, because very soon we shall be having now the practicalities appearing on this show.
Yeah.
But before then, now, some of the interventions independent or outside interventions. You talked about your role at the PCAK and other organizations that does this. Do you have an independent oversight ile investigations yenu mnafanya? At least you want to know what does company K does, and then you compile an independent investigations. Kama hapo watu ndani wameogopa kuitoa, then at the right time it can reach those ones who are concerned.
That's advocacy.
Because these advocacy.
That's advocacy,
Yes.
and I think PSAC is pioneering on that, and we are even doing researches. Mr. Ndela can explain. Researches are very good platforms to be able to understand a problem in a society. Then you come up with the ways to address the problem. So work-based violences, organizations where people's rights are being violated. I think research and other investigative authorities are able to bring out the problem. And then when the problem becomes a national issue and is given a wider view and a wider interest, definitely something will have to change.
Let's get into something here. Still tonight seems to be a night of the people, as it has always been. But leo moto imeenda juu sana and the people comes first. Frank Mulwa wants you gentlemen to shed more light on terrorism as a security threat. Cooperates duly on top of the game in far as the threat of terrorism is concerned, because we have a problem of laxity and quickly forgetting once we have an incident like the one we had at some hotel the other year of 2018,
Westgate.
and Westgate, and also the Dusit too. So Mulwa's concern is to know how corporates are also fighting to see
So
that they can
contributing
also
to the
contain
fight
terrorism,
against
although we had
terrorism.
handled this topic before.
So maybe-
but tonight is purposely on
Yes. And
corporates and
allow,
terrorism.
it's unfortunate that corporates in Kenya have learnt it the hard way, that we've been hit with the terrorism, and by virtue of being hit by terrorism, I think organizations have really stepped up in trying issues to do with the access control. Yeah, in organizations, for example, if you visit a place like Westgate, you will really find that there are access control measures that have been put in place. Yeah, they are really top notch. So we've been hit, but I think we are trying to do our best, though there is need of continuous sensitization and awareness. Yeah, that is a continuous thing.
Yeah.
We have courses, we have sensitization activity like active shooter. Yeah, these are things that internal and external clients of an organization should always be exposed to. You have seen companies do drills. Yeah, this is just.
And before you go further on drills, this thing seems not to be really understood by majority of the people, and unless you tonight what is a drill and how it should be approached, then it may end up causing a lot of issues in some learning institution of higher learning some years back. They were doing a drill concerning matters terrorism.
Yes.
And as soon as they did it, students were injured and some people were near there. So generally, all about a drill, what comes in a drill, and how should it be approached to avoid whatever happened in that institution of higher learning?
What is important as you are planning that simulation exercise, it is important that the participants be informed. Yeah, because when you are planning a drill, first of all, you should inform the police. Yeah, and make if it's a learning institution, make everybody aware that we shall be conducting this drill, so that people are psychologically prepared. You know, you are trying to input a reaction, so that when what happens, what you should do. Let's say, for example, what should you do when you hear gunshots? Yeah. So it's not a matter of catching people off guard. No, it's a matter of imparting into them that in case of this situation, then the reaction should be this. So it's important that they are informed upfront, the government agencies are informed upfront, so that when this thing happens, it does not catch people off guard. And that's why you saw a case where even a student had to jump from a story building and lost his life.
I'm still not convinced, Mr. Bernard and Mr. Ndeda tonight, and if you're not very keen, I may not be convinced until you leave here.
Yes.
This is an institution of higher learning.
Yes.
Where we have students on session, others are out of session. I'm sorry to use this term, actually. We were born with different capabilities of memories.
Yes.
I don't know about your memory. I don't know about your memory. I know mine very well.
Yes.
And even if you have that strong memory of an elephant, I'm told an elephant has got a very strong memory. Alafu kuna ingine inaitwa this warthog. Inaweza kukimbiza, unafika hapo unapanda kwa mti, alafu inasahau it was chasing someone, anaanza kula nyasi. Now, an information was given to a particular people in the society, or maybe the students, that there will be a drill.
Yes.
Kuna jamaa hakupata information, maybe he or she was out of campus or out of that locality, ama mwingine alipewa.
Yes.
Lakini unasahau, maybe you're doing your own thing, then kidogo pap risasi na nini, then why should we have that thing in the first place? Should we teach people how to overcome it, or do it practically, but now considering the kind of losses that it can cause?
Drills are very important and plays a very significant role in getting people prepared, because with a drill, you are testing the preparedness of the community you are trying to secure. So drills, we cannot underscore the benefit of drills, simulations and desktop exercises. Otherwise, how do you test that people who you have been sensitizing and creating awareness knows what they're supposed to do, and they're supposed to, because talks, you can talk and talk and talk, but if you do not demonstrate, or you do not get people now to demonstrate, you will find too late when an incident occurs that people did not hear you. So drills are important, but how we conduct drills or how we go about doing drills is very important, as is mentioned. You need to do a proper assessment and scenarios, outcomes. What could be the worst case scenario with this drill? And then address those issues. Once you address, you look at it from top to bottom. Look at it, what are we trying to achieve? And if people react, there's a time we did a drill in a place, in an organization I want to mention. And the shock that the drill came with got somebody have heart attack, and we were now dealing with a crisis out of a very meaningful drill. It was a real crisis. Now we have to call real ambulance, we have to rush this staff to the hospital, and we are praying the staff survives. And so now those are the things you need to ask yourself. before you do a drill, what community are you dealing with? Are you dealing with students, and how do students react? So what should be the level? Should we involve guns, or we can just come up with a fire situation? And if a fire appears in a hall or smoke in a hall, how do they react? So it must not be so severe to the extent that there are people who cannot take the sound of a gun. So if you sound a gun or you throw a tear gas in an organization or in an institution because you're doing a drill and you've not assessed the effect, the end result, you may end up with more crisis than the drill you're trying to do.
Someone is seated somewhere, and then they're wondering now, how does this it poses to these workers and to the general society? Ukiteremka huku chini industrial area, utaona kwamba almost all these industries ziko na wall. Ukifika kwa wall juu, kuna hiyo nini ya stima. Yeah, even just outside here as you came in, you realize that we are well guarded. Why should we have systems that really does that? And if there are loopholes, what effects is it going to have to the general society, especially to the people, the majority, the citizens?
Okay, as we said earlier, corporate security has various elements. And probably I want to give an example of issues to do with fraud, for example, as an element in corporate security. What is the direct impact of, let's say, currently we have organizations which are undergoing economic difficulties, right? So that directly translates to loss of jobs. Yeah, what does loss of job translate to? Yeah, you see, crime. So you see, if you have a strong corporate security function that maybe can be able to detect fraud, yeah, and save the company from going under, in the long run, you have actually prevented an increase in criminal activities. Yeah, so see, because these corporations employ people, people have families who depend on them. So if they go under today, you can imagine the impact. So it's very critical. You might be doing it in your workplace thinking that it's my job. But if things go wrong, the ripple effect, the impact will be enormous. So
it brings us now into something called investigations. Yes. And this part of an organization, knowing that employee K or Z poses a threat to this organization. One, this person could be a potential thief or a collaborator with thief outside there. Two, this person may pose a threat even to harming maybe colleagues or even the bosses, like the case we talked about, the guy in Mombasa akakuja na panga, and you saw what happened, vile alimiss boss akaingia ndani ya maji.
Yes.
Now, the part of investigations, which are best mechanisms, or what are those mechanisms that have been put in place to ensure that investigations are done in the right way, where part of the employees cannot be victimized, ama kuna hiyo kitu inaweza tokelezea ya kwamba wamewekelewa. The scientific and forensic approaches that are there as far as the 21st approach or practice of security in corporates are concerned.
I would want to start by answering your question by saying most organizations that are running properly and are well structured have got, we talked about work-based violence resolution mechanisms. They are premised within mostly HR in most organizations. And so investigations finds its role, corporate investigations finds its role more so the ones to deal with internal employees within the disciplinary committees of the companies, and plays a very critical role, because by the time that committee is sitting to put up a case against one or two employees, there must have been an independent investigations report done, and they're basing their argument or their reasoning or their decision making on a report, a formal report. And that is where corporate security plays a key role. So we must, again, investigations as a function of security must also have a policy that says what happens. Should I record statement? Am I allowed to use covert methods, like when I'm talking to you, I'm recording you covertly? Or should I declare that I am going to use this methodology to gather information from you as an employee? Because it's your right to know how you're being investigated, so that there's no surprises when we're at the disciplinary committee table. We start playing a video which you don't know how that video was taken. It becomes subjective and raises another issue altogether. So investigations must be done in a structured format, acceptable and known to everyone, that this is how the investigation. That's why part of the report should be you declare how you did your investigations. I talked to so and so. It was either one-on-one or on a phone, and when I talked with them, were there any other person that would have been a third party, and did he sign the statement? Did you use the language he understands, or you are using English and this guy is not good in English? All those parameters must be put into consideration for an investigation to be considered to be fair and objective.
This one has taken my memory back a few months, it could be a month or so, where we had a very disturbing video that went viral about an alleged act that took place in one of the kitchens in one of the prominent hotels in the country. An alleged act, we won't mention the hotel, that actually happened.
Yes.
And as it came into position, wakasema ilifanyika kwa hoteli fulani, but
denied and
ilipotea hivyo.
Yes.
Which mechanisms again does organizations have to ensure that these matters are actually protected internally without any form of it coming to slip outside?
Those are probably it was images from CCTV,
Yes.
and it's very important that organizations that have installed CCTVs, they should have CCTVs policy, and that policy will guide that on under what conditions can these images be released out. And normally is just one. For if police require
This
them.
investigation.
If the police are doing the investigation.
Other
than that, that was illegal. It was intrusion of privacy, which should not happen. It's extremely wrong. And I wanted to comment, to add to what Mr. Otieno was saying earlier in regard to investigations. Mr. Otieno pointed out that there is a need to have an investigation policy or an investigation manual that will spell out how investigation is going to be done in an organization. And you might ignore, but that has far-reaching consequences, especially if the report of the corporate security manager is the one that is going to be dependent on, let's say, on a disciplinary committee to make a decision that will even mean that somebody has to be dismissed. If this person chooses, having been dissatisfied with your decision, chooses to seek further legal redress on the matter, the first thing the lawyer or the court will ask, do you have such a policy that guided action towards reaching this decision?
Many thanks, guys. Now, your parting shot. Looking into the practice of corporate security in the past, where we are and where we are headed to. Your parting shot to the stakeholders, to the researchers, the government, and all those who are concerned with the matters of corporate security. A few things that you feel it is a loophole which needs an urgent or a proper address, and what do you really look at na unasema hapa kuna mwangaza mbele and we're going to have the best corporate security ever. 1 minute each as we come to the end of the show.
In conclusion, I think I would say that as we started by chunking the security branches into 3, and we talked about them, though we built so much on corporate, the 3 arms of security are interrelated. There's a symbiotic relationship between national security, private security, because when you're doing investigations, when you need response that is armed or people with more response power, you may not do it on your own. You will need to call the police. Even, for example, when there's riot in a company, as a security expert or manager, you may not be able to deal with that. So you need the police. Then there is the guarding services companies, and they need to be streamlined. And I think the bill is an idea that should have come like yesterday, and so it needs to be reinforced. It needs the implementation bit of it needs to get more serious, so that we get more aligned, trained, and operating security services. So with the three arms working together, even national security will get better, because I'm able to report an incident in a mall. I'm a security manager in a mall, and I'm seeing terrorists or activities that are suspicious. I know if I report this to the police, it will be handled the right way. The information will not leak, and I'm at danger. And if I'm a security guard, I am empowered, and I'm given the right instructions on how to deliver my work, and I know how to do my work, and I'm doing my work properly. So the three arms must work together.
Many thanks. Your conclusion, Mr. Chopi.
I think the future of corporate security is bright, especially in Kenya, especially in terms of now that we have the Private Security Regulatory Act of 2016. And if you look at, I don't know, maybe section 42 or 43, it goes a long way in even empowering the guards. For instance, that section even speaks about that a person coming from outside may surrender identification documents temporarily, while accessing. You see, those are some of the issues now. Corporate security is now being being powered, as part of security at large, because even it's now represented at the National Security Council in government.
Yes.
And with the even formation of professional bodies like PISAC, where we have different professionals coming together. Mr. Otieno is very experienced in terms of corporate security. You can be able to share insights and mentor young people who are coming in. You've seen people mentioning him as a mentor. So the future is bright, despite challenges here and there, because the Private Security Act it was derailed a bit with the nullification of the regulations. But generally, I think we're headed for a right direction.
Many thanks, gentlemen. Out of the struggle with masks, they have put their best foot forward, bringing out all that entails the corporate security, even though we have not exhausted everything, including some of the comments and some of the questions and feedback that you have sent here. But just because of time, we'll have to make sure that the two panelists will have to get those questions, and we'll find a way on how responses will come back to you. And tonight has been a challenging night, because my work has been taken by a good number of you asking questions, some of them that I had prepared on and some of them that I had not prepared on. And this gives me a challenge to read more, or probably go back to class to know these things. We really appreciate your feedback and your responses on our social media platforms, on our SMS number, and also on our WhatsApp number. Your feedback keeps us going. On behalf of CAC TV, in collaboration with Professional Criminologists Association of Kenya, from me, Cornelius Omuse, and all those who made this production a success, from the director, content manager, fellow presenters, and the technical team, I wish you a good night. Till next Tuesday, keep safe. Corona, we are overcoming it together, because we are overcomers. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.